check. All right, it's on. Yo, fam, we're still on page 294, okay? Now move down to 17.2, basic medical expense plans. Let me just tell you right now, there is nothing basic about United Healthcare's basic medical expense plans. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I just throw that out because I told you I'm at Casa de Schwabi right now over in Coconut Grove. #1 MGA, under 65, you know. Basic plans is how he did it, guys. So later on, what we're going to do, we're going to jump into a little case study. We're going to break out the United Healthcare brochure because I am a client. I am not on a major medical plan. There was no point, you know. But those major med that we're going to talk about, comprehensive, has everything. Basic, limited. Think about it like it's the difference between a Geo Metro. You see that? And all that noise, that air pollution, that doesn't happen in, I live in Windermere, right? It don't happen in Windermere. Only in Miami do we got the police helicopters overhead. But you ain't hear that from me. I love you, Miami. Bienvenidos a Miami. All right, so anyway, Neil and I are going to chop it up a little bit later. We're going to go into the brochure, and a lot of people are going to tell you that stuff that you learn in pre-licensing never shows up again. I'm here to say that's Bolshevik, all right? It's absolute Bolshevik. Why? Because when our client buys the policy, we didn't not only are we responsible for selling them the policy. In the book, we're going to learn about constructive delivery. That means that when the policy is issued, we're supposed to explain these terms and conditions to them and go through the policy. Guys, pre-licensing. This is basic stuff, and what I love about it is that your job is never, ever going to be more complicated. But we're going to start with basic medical expense because the thing that you got to remember here is that basic medical expense has limits. Okay? So, let's highlight that 17.2 and let's take that first sentence there. Basic medical expense insurance is sometimes called first dollar insurance because ... skip to the end of that sentence. It provides benefits up front without, skip to the end of that sentence, a deductible. What do you mean it provides benefits up front without a deductible, Jay? I know I said I wasn't going to teach you guys anything in this section, but sometimes it's just easier for me to go ahead and teach you something at this section. Basic. Think about this, man. If they're going to provide limits on the coverage that they're providing, does it make sense for them to tell you to pay a deductible up front before they start providing you with limited benefits? Doesn't make sense. Those deductibles are reserved for those major medical plans, the comprehensive plans. That's what the deductible is reserved for. So this first dollar insurance is because there's limits. It's like saying we should wait for these police cars to go by. What do you think, David's picking up on you don't think so? All right. He said it's only pulling from my face right now, and you can't hear that. But we'll find out. We'll find out. I think they're here for you, dude. You better run.
Where my eyes go.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You look a little suspect. All right. So now that they're on the trail of the suspect. But yeah, the basic medical expense, it's for argument's sake, let's just say it only gives you $10,000 worth of hospital expenses, right? That's what we used in the example for the reimbursement versus the flat rate. So if that was the case, would it make sense for them to be like, yeah, we'll give you 10 grand worth of your benefits, but you got to pay me $2,000 first. Get out of here, man. Those deductibles are reserved for when those comprehensive plans take over and pay for everything outside of your copays, but that's a little bit later on. You're only on the section 17.2. Man, you see, this book has worked. My prop guy over here said I should have grabbed one of my sexier books, not my battle-tested books, but you know, whatevers. All right, so we highlighted that deductible right there. Let's go down one to 3 lines down. Let's take where it starts there in the front. Basic medical expense policies limit the type and duration of services covered and dollar amounts. Excuse me. And dollar amounts. And then jump over paid or reimbursed. And then at the end of that sentence, major medical, not as limiting. Jump over to 295 at the top. Policies classify their coverages according to, next line down, categories of care. Hospital expense, surgical expense, physician's non-surgical expense. What's that, physicians? That's your primary care physician, your clinic, your doctor's office. You know what I'm talking about. We're talking about Chen Med, baby. What's up? If you're jumping around and you didn't start where you were supposed to start in social insurances, you didn't meet Chen Med yet. But you'll meet some of the doctors over there, because I just wanted to make sure you guys, and just like how I'm bringing Neil over to talk about medical expense later, we're also going to also, so that way we can make a distinction between the two. It's not very complicated, it's really simple, but it's really simple on the next page. So that wraps it up for basic medical expense plans. Now if we just go ahead and run through the highlighted portion there. Basic medical expense insurance is sometimes called first dollar insurance because it provides benefits up front without a deductible. Basic medical expense policies limit the time, duration of services covered, and dollar amounts paid or reimbursed. Major medical, not as limiting. Policies classify their coverages according to categories of expense. By the way, I should have put a period there because it was major medical is not as limiting, period. The next page, basic medical expense policies. I had you jump over that, but now it's there. So classify their coverages according to the categories, right? So if you're why would they sell it to you a la carte? Maybe you're not worried. Like, my millennial over here, he's not worried about being hospitalized for anything unless I don't know, he's prone. He might be hospitalized for something one day, but it's one of those things that worry. Come on, man, we've seen you on an electric scooter, all right, Skidmark? So, but anyway, the a la carte version of the basic is a really nice way for you to look at how you can limit your risk to medical expense costs. I'm not really worried about hospital expenses. That's why I spoke with Neil about the United Basic Plan, because I'm 49 years old. Dude, I don't have anything that's going to... And even if I did have something, if you look at the statistics, most surgeries are outpatient anyway, so why would I go comprehensive and have this hospital benefit that covers the sun, the moon, the stars if I'm healthy? I would do something like that if I wasn't so healthy, but I'm diving a little deep here, right? So we talked about hospitalization. Well, let's jump over 295, 17.21. Highlight that, basic hospital expense. And then we only need the first line on that, guys. Highlight basic hospital expense insurance reimburses policy owners for the cost of hospital confinement. That's it. That's all you need to know. Durr, right? Durr. 17.211. Highlight that headline right there, daily room and board. And then right under that, hospital expense policies cover the daily cost of room and board. Let's see. That's all we need out of that. That's all we need. Next one down, miscellaneous expenses, 17.212. Highlight that. The reason you're highlighting, because it's all visual, man. We got to be able to see it. I want your brain running right to key points. I don't want you trying to figure out what's fluff, what's not. You do not need to read the stuff in between the highlights. Okay? I say it like that all the time because guess what you guys are going to do? Read stuff in between the highlights. All right, anyway. I'm tired of making fun of you guys. On 17.212, let's take that second sentence there. Covered miscellaneous expenses include x-rays, anesthesia, lab fees, dressings, use of the operating room, and supplies. Jump down, skip that whole second paragraph completely, jump down to the third paragraph. Don't highlight that first portion of it, but it is important to note because physician services are not covered under basic hospital expense policy. Time out. Let me explain. Grandma got run over by a reindeer on the corner of Coconut Grove and US 1, right? True story. Ambulance came. Where did they take her? Hospital. Yeah, that's right. Back there in the peanut seats, David. Hospital. She took Grandma to the hospital, right? Now, when Grandma got to the hospital, she was on a bed already. They moved her to a comfy bed. Does she get better at the hospital, or do we have to get a physician over there to help her at the hospital? Right. So we're going to use this Grandma got run over thing a little bit later. But that first person that comes in, it's not a surgeon. A surgeon's a specialist. The first one is the primary care physician. That person is coming in and being like, oh, Grandma, looks like you got run over by a reindeer, right? He's helping with cuts. Anything major, that doctor sends over to a surgeon. I just want to make these distinctions. They are not the same people. And as long as you can run that little silly, Grandma got run over by a reindeer. We took her down to Miami General the other day. When we walked in, and she had to see a doctor. But her leg they had to amputate right away. That was the surgeon amputated it. You like that, right? That was on the fly. What? All right, I like that. So just highlight that. Physician services are not covered under a basic hospital expense policy. Why? Because a physician is not a hospital. A physician is a physician. Now, let's jump down to the next one there, 17.22. Basic surgical expense. That's me, all mad dramatic with my highlighter, my air highlighter. Maybe I'll have David add words there. Basic, right? So you highlighted that. You take that first sentence right there. Basic surgical expense policies provide coverage for the cost of a surgeon's service. A little bit further down, in or out of the hospital. Underneath that, included coverage, surgeon fees, anesthesiologists, and post-operative care. That's all you need out of that. Flip the page, top of page 296. I want you to highlight right there, dead center, 3 different approaches used by insurers. Dead center, line under it, determining benefits payable. Highlight surgical schedule, reasonable and customary approach, and relative value scale, okay? So what they're saying here is that we have surgeon services. This is how the insurer determines how much that surgeon's worth. Surgical schedule. This one's kind of like, it's really easy to make this out to be like your car, okay? When we go and get your car, when you get your car worked on, they flip open a book like this, like, oh, your radiator's leaking? Okay, well that job is 4.2 hours and that sign says our rate is $115 an hour. The book assigned a value, a scale, right? A schedule of, blah, blah, blah. Same thing here. So 17221 on 296. Under the surgical schedule method, every surgical procedure is assigned a dollar amount by the insurer. Okay? So, let's see. Now we're going to go all the way down to the 4 lines up from the bottom. Dead center. If the surgeon bill is more than the allowed charge, next line down, dead center, it is up to the insured to pay. And then skip over that a little bit, the difference. If, next line down, less, the insurer will pay only the amount billed. Payment will never exceed amount charged. All right? So, what are they saying? I got an appendicitis. They'll give me X amount of dollars for it. This is how much that's worth to them. Okay? This one, next one, reasonable and customary. Guys, I told you I'm in Coconut Grove, so please don't let anything happen to me over here, okay? Down in Coconut Grove, a cafe con leche is like $6, okay? If I just go up the street, it's $1.79, okay? So, the reasonable and customary approach, what are they saying here? Is that it's more about where you are when you need the procedure. So where do you think? I'm the Orlando local, all right? Central Florida Insurance School, aka theinsuranceschool.com. Where do you think it'd be cheaper for me to get a surgical procedure done? In Central Florida, where people still drive Accords and whatnot? Or down here in bougie Coconut Grove? Definitely cheaper in Orlando, all right? So do me a favor. I want you to highlight that headline. The second line down, I want you to highlight where it's bold. Reasonable and customary approach. Skip the next line, and then expense is compared to what is deemed reasonable and customary for the geographical part of the country where the surgery was performed. And then skip the next line and then go dead center, second to last line in the bottom. If the charge is more, last line, the patient must absorb the difference. So what they're saying is, let's just say they allotted $10,000 for my surgery, right? That's it. And any normal surgeon would do the surgery for $10,000, but I would love to have a Coconut Grove address, return address on my doctor bill. So I chose to come here and pay $13,000 for my $10,000 surgery. I'd be responsible for the difference. That's all it is, okay? But if I went somewhere else where it was reasonable and customary, what are they going to pay? They're going to pay the amount that the doctor charged. So in all these things, if the charge is excessive, you're responsible. There's always going to be some kind of limitations in there, guys. This last one is so timeshare, okay? Relative value scale. Highlight that bold part right there, the relative value scale in that first line, and jump right under it. Instead of a flat dollar amount assigned to every surgical procedure, a set of points is assigned. Now, jump completely over the middle paragraph there. Jump down to the third paragraph. Second line, dollar per point amount known as the conversion factor. So what do we got? We have 3 ways to determine how the insurer is going to bill you for or pay for your surgical benefits. 3 ways for them to determine it. First one would be that surgical schedule. What are we doing there? We highlighted under surgical schedule, everything is assigned a dollar amount. Appendicitis, $10,000, right? Second one, reasonable and customary approach. What are they paying? What is the average amount for that surgery in the area? That's how you do it. What is the average amount? So if you're in a big city and it's a little bit more expensive, they're going to pay a little bit more. If you're in, Central Florida or maybe Gainesville, where, a little more country, if we want to start throwing country jokes around here, we're going to start making fun of Tallahassee. Ain't that right, FS who? Psst, psst. You ain't hear that from me, though. But anyway, if you're up in Tallahassee, obviously a surgery in Tallahassee is going to be a lot cheaper than a surgery in Miami, right? What's the reasonable and customary amount for somebody to pay in that area? Geographic. Last one, relative value. Remember what we were talking about? The first one is they set a straight dollar amount. This is a set of points. That's it. Guys, this doesn't get much more complicated than this, okay? So, the last little component we just talked about for basic, we have basic hospital. That's the room and board that they took grandma to after she got run over, right? You got your surgical expense. That's the surgeon that chopped her leg. Why they put the surgeon before they put the basic physician on 297. Here's the physician. This is the person that saw her in the emergency room, right? That's highlight that first line right there. Basic physician expense insurance provides benefits for non-surgical physician services. Include office visits, care by a physician while hospitalized for non-surgical reasons. Look at that. Look how many words are cut out of your life. Your life. All right, so after these messages, I'll be right back with some major medical expense plans.